The millionaire returned after 16 years and found the woman he left with 3 children. A story about abandonment, sacrifice, and the price of chasing dreams. The silver Mercedes pulled into the dirt lot next to the construction site at exactly 2:47 p.m. on a Friday afternoon in late July. The sun was brutal, the kind of heat that made asphalt soft and turned metal too hot to touch, the kind of heat that reminded people why the rich left town in summer and the poor stayed because they had no choice. Daniel Ortega stepped out of the air-conditioned car into the wall of heat. He was 41 years old, looked younger. Money did that. Good doctors, personal trainers, expensive skincare. A life of comfort showed in every detail. His suit was Italian, custom-tailored. His watch was a Patek Philippe, $60,000 on his wrist. His shoes were handmade in London. His haircut cost more than most people in this neighborhood made in a week. He stood there for a moment, looking at the construction site, at the half-built luxury apartment complex that would be his latest project, his company's latest success. Another development in another city, another building where rich people would live and work and play, while the poor people who built it went home to neighborhoods like this one. Daniel pulled out his phone, checked messages, emails, stock prices, the constant digital tether to his empire, real estate development, Ortega Properties. 15 years of building from nothing into something, into millions, into success. He was here to inspect the site, to meet with the foreman, to make sure the project was on schedule, to ensure his investment was protected. But he was also here for another reason. A reason he hadn't admitted to anyone, barely admitted to himself. He was here because this was the city where he had grown up, where he had lived 25 years ago, where he had left everything behind to chase a dream. Where he had left her, Daniel walked across the construction site, dirt and gravel crunching under his expensive shoes. Workers stopped and stared at the suit, at the car, at the obvious wealth. He was used to that, used to being looked at, used to standing out. The foreman approached, a man in his 50s, weathered, hard, the kind of man who worked with his hands and showed it in every line on his face. "Mr. Ortega," the foreman said, "we weren't expecting you until Monday. I was in the area, thought I'd stop by. How's the project?" "On schedule, on budget, no problems." They walked through the site, discussed progress, timelines, materials. The conversation was routine, professional. Daniel had done this hundreds of times. But as they walked, Daniel found his attention drifting, looking beyond the construction site, at the neighborhood, at the small houses, the cracked sidewalks, the old cars, the poverty that clung to everything like the heat. This was where he used to live, not this exact street, but close, a few blocks over, in a neighborhood just like this one, in a house just like these, with a girl he loved and dreams he couldn't afford. "Sir?" the foreman said. "Did you hear me?" Daniel pulled his attention back. "Sorry, what?" "I asked if you wanted to inspect the foundation work on the east wing." "Yes, of course." They continued the tour. But Daniel's mind was elsewhere, on another street, another life, another version of himself that felt both impossibly distant and painfully close. After the inspection, Daniel got back in his Mercedes, started the engine, felt the blast of cold air from the AC. He should leave, should drive back to his hotel, should review contracts and make calls and do all the things successful men did. But instead, he found himself driving, through the old neighborhood, past streets he remembered, past places he used to know. He told himself he was just curious, just wanted to see how things had changed, how the neighborhood had evolved in 16 years. But that was a lie, and Daniel knew it. He was looking for her, for Valentina, for the woman he had left behind when he ran away to chase his dreams. He didn't know if she still lived here, didn't know if she had moved, married, left. disappeared into a life he knew nothing about. But he had to know, had to see, had to find out what had happened to the girl he loved and abandoned. The car turned onto Riverside Avenue, and there it was. The small house, smaller than he remembered, paint peeling, roof sagging, yard overgrown, but unmistakably the same house where Valentina had lived with her mother, where he had spent so many evenings, where they had made plans and dreamed dreams and promised each other forever. Daniel slowed the car, pulled to the curb 2 houses down, sat staring. Someone was home. He could see movement through the window. A figure passing by. Too far to make out details. He should leave, should drive away, should let the past stay in the past. But before he could start the car again, the front door opened, and she walked out. Valentina. Except she looked nothing like the Valentina he remembered. That girl had been 25, beautiful, vibrant, full of energy and hope and life. This woman was 41, but looked 50. Her hair was pulled back in a severe ponytail, grey streaks throughout. Her face was lined, tired, worn down by years of something Daniel couldn't quite identify from this distance. She wore old clothes, a faded dress, sandals that were falling apart. Behind her, children appeared, 3 of them. A teenage boy, maybe 15 or 16. Tall, gangly, wearing clothes that didn't quite fit. A girl slightly younger, 13 or 14, pretty despite the worn clothes. And a younger boy, maybe 10 or 11, small for his age. Daniel watched, his heart pounding, his hands gripping the steering wheel. Valentina was giving the children instructions. The oldest boy nodded, took a bag from his mother. The girl said something Daniel couldn't hear. Valentina responded, touched the girl's face gently. The youngest boy hugged his mother. She hugged him back, tight, like she was afraid to let go. Then the children left, walked down the street together, the oldest boy carrying the bag, the girl holding the youngest boy's hand. All 3 of them thin, too thin, wearing clothes that had seen better days. Valentina watched them go, stood on the porch until they turned the corner and disappeared. Then she put her hand on the doorframe, leaned against it, and even from this distance, Daniel could see her shoulders shake, could see her crying. She went back inside, the door closed, the house was quiet again. Daniel sat in his car, unable to move, unable to think, unable to process what he had just seen. Valentina, after 16 years, living in the same house, looking like life had crushed her, with 3 children. 3 children who looked like they didn't have enough food, didn't have enough clothes, didn't have enough of anything. The thoughts came slowly, then all at once, crashing into him like a wave. 16 years ago he had left. Valentina had been pregnant. He knew that. She had told him 2 weeks before he disappeared. 2 weeks before he took all his savings and bought a bus ticket to the capital and left everything behind. Left her behind. Pregnant. With his child. Daniel's hands were shaking. He looked at the house, at the peeling paint, at the broken fence, at the poverty that was obvious even from the outside. He had left her pregnant, and she had raised the child alone. No, not just one child. 3 children. 3, his children. The math clicked into place. The oldest boy, 16. Born 9 months after Daniel left. His son, the girl, 14 maybe. Conceived when? Daniel's mind raced. When had he last seen Valentina before he left? 2 years before. 3, no. Wait, he had come back once, 6 months after leaving, spent 1 weekend with her, told her he was building something, told her to wait for him, promised he would come back for her when he made his fortune. Then he left again, and never came back. That was 15 years ago. The girl could be 15. Could be his and the youngest boy, 10 or 11. Daniel's chest tightened. He had never come back. But maybe she had moved on. Maybe the youngest wasn't his. Maybe she had found someone else, had another child. Or maybe... Daniel pulled out his phone, opened the calculator, started counting backwards. 15 years since his last visit. The girl could be 14 or 15. His, 10 years. The boy could be... Daniel's mind went blank. He hadn't seen Valentina in 15 years. Hadn't talked to her. Hadn't thought about her except in moments he tried to push away. The boy couldn't be his. Unless she had been pregnant when he left the second time. Unless she hadn't told him. Hadn't wanted to trap him. Hadn't wanted to ruin his dreams with the reality of another child. 3 children, all thin, all wearing old clothes, all living in that falling-apart house with their mother who looked like life had beaten her down. His children. Daniel sat in the Mercedes, in the air conditioning, in the leather seats, wearing his Italian suit and his $60,000 watch, and he felt sick. He started the car, drove away, couldn't stay, couldn't face it, couldn't deal with what he had just seen. But as he drove back to his luxury hotel, the image stayed with him. Valentina's face, the children's thin frames, the house falling apart, the crying, and he knew, whether he wanted to or not, whether he was ready or not, he was going to have to face what he had done, who he had left behind, and what his choices had cost the people he abandoned. 16 years. Earlier, Daniel Ortega was 25 years old, and he was drowning. Working construction for $12 an hour, living in a cramped apartment with 4 roommates, eating cheap food, wearing second-hand clothes, going nowhere. He had dreams, big dreams. He wanted to build, not with his hands on someone else's project, but to develop, to create, to be the one making decisions instead of the one taking orders. But dreams required money, and Daniel had none, had student loans from the degree he never finished, had credit card debt from trying to keep up appearances, had nothing in savings, nothing in investments, nothing that would ever get him out of this cycle of poverty. Except Valentina. She was 25 too, beautiful, smart, working 2 jobs to help support her mother who was sick. They had been together for 3 years, talked about getting married, about building a life together, and then Valentina told him she was pregnant. Daniel remembered that moment, sitting in his car outside her house, her telling him, watching his face, waiting for his reaction. He had smiled, hugged her, told her it was wonderful news, that they would figure it out, that everything would be okay. But inside, he was screaming, because a baby meant the end of his dreams, meant being trapped forever, meant accepting this life of poverty and struggle, meant giving up on ever becoming someone. He stayed for 2 weeks, pretended everything was fine, helped Valentina make plans, talked about baby names, about where they would live, about how they would manage, and the whole time he was planning his escape. He had been saving, not much, but enough for a bus ticket and maybe 2 months of rent in a cheap room in the capital. He had a contact there, a guy he knew from college who worked in real estate development, who had mentioned once that if Daniel ever wanted to try his luck in the big city, he should look him up. Daniel made the call, asked if the offer was still good, was told yes. There might be something, an entry-level position, barely above minimum wage, but a foot in the door. Daniel took it, didn't tell Valentina, didn't tell anyone, just packed a bag one night, withdrew all his savings from the bank, wrote a short letter explaining that he had to leave, that he needed to build something, that she would be better off without him anyway. And he left, got on a bus at 3 a.m., rode through the night, arrived in the capital with $200 and a dream. He never looked back, never called, never wrote except for that one letter, cut off all contact because contact meant guilt, and guilt meant possibly going back, and going back meant death to his ambitions. He threw himself into work. Took the entry-level job, learned everything he could, worked 90-hour weeks, slept in his car sometimes because he couldn't afford both rent and food, made connections, impressed the right people, showed he was willing to do anything to succeed. And it worked. Within a year he was promoted. Within 2 years he was managing projects. Within 3 years he was bringing in his own deals. 6 months after he left, he came back. Just once. Told himself it was to check on Valentina, to see if she was okay, to maybe explain why he had left. But really it was because he was lonely, because he missed her, because late at night in his cold apartment in the capital, he remembered what it felt like to be loved. He showed up at her door. She answered. She had a small baby bump, 4 months pregnant. She looked at him with eyes that held everything: love, hurt, hope, anger. "You came back," she said. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm so sorry. I was scared. I ran. But I'm building something. I'm making money. I'm becoming someone. And when I have enough, I'm going to come back for you, for our baby. I'm going to give you the life you deserve." She believed him, because she wanted to, because she loved him, because the alternative was that he had abandoned her and she couldn't accept that. They spent the weekend together, made love, made promises, made plans, and then he left again, promised he would call, would visit, would send money. He never did, because the moment he got back to the capital, reality crashed back in. He was barely surviving, barely making rent, couldn't send money he didn't have, couldn't visit when he was working 90 hours a week, and the calls got harder, because she would ask when he was coming back, when he was going to keep his promises, and he had no answers. So he stopped calling, stopped writing, stopped thinking about her, because thinking about her meant guilt, and guilt meant paralysis. He worked, built, grew, made money, made connections, made a name for himself. Within 5 years, he had enough to start his own company. Small projects at first, then bigger ones, then major developments. Within 10 years, he was a millionaire, had a penthouse apartment, a luxury car, a life most people only dreamed of. Within 15 years, he was worth tens of millions, had multiple developments across multiple cities, had staff, had investors, had success. And he never went back, never checked on Valentina, never wondered about the child, the baby who was born while he was busy building his empire, who grew up without a father, without support, without knowing who Daniel Ortega was except as the man who abandoned them. Until today, when he drove through the old neighborhood, when he saw her, when he realized what his choices had cost. Present day. Daniel didn't sleep that night. Lay in his luxury hotel room, $1,000 a night suite, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, king-sized bed with Egyptian cotton sheets, marble bathroom, every amenity money could buy, and all he could think about was Valentina's face, the children's thin frames, the house falling apart. He got up at dawn, showered, dressed, tried to focus on work, on the development, on the million things that required his attention. But he couldn't think about anything except what he had seen, what he had done, what he needed to do next. Around 9 a.m., his phone rang, his assistant, confirming his schedule for the day, meetings, calls, an evening dinner with potential investors. "Cancel everything," Daniel said. "Sir, everything. I need the day. I'll call you later." He hung up, got in his car, drove to Riverside Avenue, parked in the same spot as yesterday, 2 houses down, sat watching. Around 10, Valentina came out. She was wearing the same clothes, or maybe different clothes that looked exactly the same. Old, worn, poor. She walked down the street. Daniel followed in his car. Slowly, at a distance, she went to the market, bought food, not much, just a few items. Paid with coins she counted carefully, took her bags and walked home. Daniel watched her walk, slowly, like every step hurt, like she was carrying weight beyond the groceries. She went back inside, the door closed. Daniel sat in his car, trying to decide. Should he knock? Should he talk to her? Should he face what he had done? Before he could decide, the door opened again. The oldest boy came out, the teenager, 16 years old, tall, thin, wearing jeans that were too short and a shirt that was too big. The boy walked down the street. Daniel followed again, watched him go to a small grocery store, go inside, come out 20 minutes later wearing an apron, a job. The kid worked at the grocery store, after school probably, to help support the family. Daniel's chest tightened. This boy, his son, working instead of playing, supporting his mother and siblings instead of being a kid. Daniel drove back to the house, parked, waited. The two younger children came home around 3. School must have let out. They walked together, the girl holding the younger boy's hand, both carrying backpacks that looked old, worn out. They went inside. Through the window, Daniel could see movement. The family together, doing homework probably, helping each other. Around 5, the oldest boy came home, still wearing the apron. Looked exhausted, went inside. The door closed. Daniel sat there until dark, watching, trying to understand, trying to process. This was his family, his children, living in poverty while he lived in luxury, struggling while he succeeded, doing without while he had everything. And it was his fault, his choice, his abandonment. Finally, he started the car, drove back to the hotel, ordered room service he couldn't eat, sat at the window looking out at the city lights. His phone rang. Miranda, his girlfriend, beautiful, wealthy, from money, the perfect accessory for a successful developer. "Hey, baby," she said. "How's the inspection going? When are you coming back?" "I don't know. Maybe a few more days." "A few more days? For an inspection? What's going on?" "Just complications. Things I need to deal with." "What kind of complications?" "Personal ones. I can't explain right now." Miranda's voice cooled. "Is there someone else? Is that what this is?" "No, it's not like that. It's complicated. Everything with you is complicated lately. I'm starting to think I don't really know you at all." "You don't," Daniel said quietly, the truth slipping out before he could stop it. "What?" "Nothing. Look, I'll call you tomorrow. I need to go." He hung up, turned off his phone, sat in the dark, and for the first time in 16 years, Daniel Ortega cried. For what he had done, for what he had lost, for the family he didn't know, for the children who grew up without him, for the woman he had destroyed, and for himself, for the man he had become, successful but empty, rich but alone, accomplished but haunted. Tomorrow he would have to face it, have to knock on that door, have to look Valentina in the eye and admit what he had done, have to meet his children, the 3 kids he had abandoned before they were even born, have to try to make things right, even though he had no idea how, even though he knew some things couldn't be fixed, even though 16 years of absence couldn't be erased. But he had to try, had to face the consequences of his choices, had to be a man instead of the coward he had been for 16 years. Tomorrow, he would do it tomorrow, if he could find the courage. 14 years. Earlier, Valentina Luna was 27 years old, and she was breaking. She had a 2-year-old son, Lucas, Daniel's son. Though Daniel didn't know that, didn't care, hadn't been in contact for 2 years. And she was pregnant again, 4 months, with Daniel's second child, conceived during that weekend visit, that brief moment when she had believed he was coming back, when she had believed his promises. She hadn't told him about this pregnancy, hadn't called, hadn't written. because she finally understood he wasn't coming back, wasn't going to keep his promises, wasn't going to be the father her children needed. She was alone, completely alone. Her mother had died 6 months ago. Cancer, quick, brutal, leaving Valentina without support, without help, without anyone. She worked 2 jobs, morning shift at a laundromat, evening shift cleaning offices. Lucas stayed with a neighbor during the day, cost money Valentina didn't have. But she couldn't bring him to work, couldn't afford daycare, had no other options. She was exhausted all the time, bone-deep tired, her body aching from pregnancy and work and stress, her mind foggy from lack of sleep. She made barely enough for rent and food. Some months she had to choose, pay rent or eat. She always chose rent, because being hungry was better than being homeless. Lucas didn't understand. Couldn't understand why there wasn't always food, why Mommy was always tired, why they couldn't have toys or nice things like other kids. He was a good boy, sweet, smart, asked for very little, seemed to sense that asking for things would hurt his mother, but sometimes he would ask about his father. "Where's my daddy? Why doesn't Daddy come see us?" And Valentina would lie. Would say Daddy was working far away, would say Daddy loved them but couldn't be here right now, would say Daddy would come back someday. Lies, all lies, but better than the truth. That Daddy had abandoned them, chosen his dreams over his family, left them to struggle while he built his fortune somewhere else. Valentina hated Daniel, deeply, completely, for what he had done, for the promises he broke, for the life he stole from her. But she also still loved him, hated herself for it, but couldn't stop, because he was Lucas's father, and the father of the child she was carrying, and the man she had loved with everything she had. She thought about abortion, for the 2nd pregnancy, couldn't afford another child, could barely feed the one she had. Another mouth would break her completely, but she couldn't do it. Couldn't kill this baby. Couldn't make that choice even though it was probably the smart choice, the practical choice. So she kept the pregnancy, worked until she went into labor, gave birth to a daughter. Maria, beautiful, perfect. Another child to love, another mouth to feed, another responsibility Daniel didn't know about, didn't care about, didn't have to face because he was far away building his empire while she struggled to survive. The years that followed were the hardest of Valentina's life. 2 children, 2 jobs, never enough money, never enough time, never enough of anything. Lucas started school, needed supplies, uniforms, books, things that cost money Valentina didn't have. She made sacrifices, went without meals so he could have what he needed, wore clothes until they fell apart so he could have new things. Maria grew, started walking, talking, needed attention, love, care, things Valentina tried to give, but struggled to provide when she was so exhausted all the time. And then, when Valentina was 31 and starting to think maybe things were finally stabilizing, she found out she was pregnant again. This time there was no Daniel, no weekend visit, no moment of weakness. Just a man she had been seeing casually, someone she barely knew, someone who disappeared the moment she told him about the pregnancy. Different man, same story. Another abandonment, another child to raise alone. Her 3rd son, Miguel, born when Lucas was 7 and Maria was 5. Another mouth to feed, another responsibility, another child who would grow up without a father. By the time Miguel was born, Valentina was 32. She looked 50. The years of struggle had aged her, worn her down, taken everything soft and hopeful, and replaced it with hardness, desperation, exhaustion. She worked. She survived. She raised her children, because what else could she do? She had made her choices, had her responsibilities, couldn't abandon them the way their fathers had abandoned her. So she kept going, day after day, year after year, struggling, surviving, breaking a little more each day, but never quite breaking completely. For her children, for Lucas and Maria and Miguel, for the three kids who depended on her, who had no one else, who needed her to keep going even when she had nothing left to give. And somewhere far away, Daniel built his fortune, never knowing, never caring, never facing the consequences of what he had done. Present day. The next day, Daniel woke early, couldn't sleep anyway, had been lying awake most of the night, thinking, planning, trying to figure out what to say, how to approach this. He dressed carefully, not in a suit. That felt wrong, too formal, too much showing off. He wore jeans, an expensive brand, but still jeans, and a simple shirt. Tried to look casual, approachable, not like the millionaire he was. He drove to Riverside Avenue, parked, sat in the car. His hands were shaking. It was Saturday. The children would be home. He would meet them, his kids, the children he had never known, never supported, never acknowledged. Daniel took a breath, got out of the car, walked to the door, stood on the porch for a long moment. Then he knocked. Footsteps inside. The door opened. Valentina stood there. She looked at him. Her eyes went wide. Recognition. Shock. Then something else. Something that might have been rage. "Daniel," she said, her voice flat, empty. "Valentina, I need to talk to you. After 16 years, you need to talk. Now. Please. Just 5 minutes. I know I have no right, but please." She didn't move, just stood in the doorway, looking at him like he was a ghost or a monster, maybe both. 5 minutes, she finally said. "The children are inside. They don't know about you. Don't say anything to them, not yet." She stepped aside. Daniel entered the small house. It was worse inside than he had imagined. The furniture was falling apart. The walls needed paint. The floor was worn. Everything was clean, but old, broken, poor. The three children were in the living room. The oldest boy looked up. Daniel's breath caught. The resemblance was unmistakable. The boy had Daniel's eyes, his chin, his build. "Kids," Valentina said. "Go to your rooms. I need to talk to this man." "Who is he?" the girl asked. Pretty, smart eyes, curious. "No one. Just someone from a long time ago. Go on. I'll call you when we're done." The children obeyed, but the oldest boy looked back, studying Daniel, like he knew, like he sensed something. They disappeared into the back of the house. Valentina gestured to the worn couch. Daniel sat. She sat in a chair across from him, arms crossed, face hard. "Why are you here?" she asked. "I was in town for business. I drove through the old neighborhood. I saw you and the children." "And you decided what?" "To come see how the people you abandoned turned out, to check on your investment, to ease your guilt." "I didn't know about the other two. I knew about the first. I knew you were pregnant when I left, but I didn't know about the others." "Why would you? You never called, never wrote, never cared enough to find out." "I know. I have no excuse, no justification. I was a coward. I ran. I built my life and didn't look back. And now you're here, rich, successful. Everything you wanted, while She gestured around the house, at the poverty, at the struggle, while we have nothing." "How old is the girl?" Daniel asked, his voice quiet. 14. "Maria. She's 14. And the youngest?" 10. "Miguel? Are they mine? Maria and Miguel?" Valentina's laugh was bitter, cruel. "Maria is. Miguel isn't." "Surprised? You left me pregnant twice, Daniel. Once before you disappeared. Once after you came back for that weekend. Remember that weekend, when you promised you were building something, when you said you'd come back for us?" "I remember. You left me pregnant, again. Didn't even know, didn't care enough to ask, just disappeared, again. And Miguel is none of your business. He's mine, that's all that matters. Daniel nodded, accepted that, had no right to push. I want to help. I have money. I can support them, support you, give you what you need. Now, after 16 years, you want to throw money at the problem and make it go away? I want to make things right. I know I can't undo the past, can't give back the years, but I can help now, can make sure they have what they need. They need a father, not a checkbook. They need someone who's been there, who knows them, who loves them, not a stranger who shows up with guilt money. Then I'll be here. I'll get to know them. I'll try to be what they need. For how long? Until your guilt fades, until your business calls you back, until you get bored of playing father and disappear again? I won't disappear. You already did. For 16 years. Why should I believe you now? Daniel had no answer, because she was right. He had disappeared, had abandoned her and their children, had chosen himself over them. Let me try, he said. Let me at least try. If I fail, if I disappoint them, then I'll leave. But let me try. Valentina was quiet for a long time, studying his face, looking for something, truth maybe, or sincerity, or just trying to decide if she could trust him. You want to meet them? She finally asked. Really meet them? As their father? Yes. And when they ask where you've been, what you've been doing, why you weren't there, what will you tell them? The truth. That I was selfish, cowardly, that I ran, that I chose money over family, that I failed them. And you think that's enough? You think honesty makes up for 16 years? No, I know it doesn't, but it's a start. Valentina stood up. Wait here. She went to the back of the house. Daniel sat, his heart pounding, his hands shaking, voices muffled. Valentina talking to the children. Then footsteps, all 4 of them coming back. The children stood in the doorway, looking at Daniel, at this stranger in their house. Valentina stood behind them, her hands on their shoulders. Kids, she said, her voice steady but strained. This is Daniel, Daniel Ortega. He's your father. Lucas, Maria, you're his. Miguel, you're not. But he's here now, and he says he wants to be part of your lives. The silence was deafening. The oldest boy, Lucas, stared at Daniel with eyes that held everything. Shock, anger, confusion, hurt. My father, Lucas said. My father has been gone for 16 years. Why the hell would I want to meet him now? The language was harsh, angry, justified. Daniel flinched but didn't argue. I know, Daniel said. I know I have no right to be here. No right to ask for a chance. But I'm asking anyway. Maria looked between her mother and Daniel. Is he really our father? The one who left you pregnant? The one who never came back? Yes, Valentina said quietly. Then I don't want to meet him, Maria said. She turned and walked away, back to her room. The door slammed. Miguel just looked confused. I don't understand. Why is he here? What does he want? He wants to help, Valentina said. He wants to give us money, make things easier. We don't need his money, Lucas said, his voice hard. We've managed this long without him. We'll keep managing. Lucas, Valentina started. No, Mama, we don't need him. We don't need some rich guy showing up with guilt trying to buy his way into our lives. Lucas walked away too. Only Miguel remained, looking at Daniel with big eyes, too young to understand, too young to hate. Are you really rich? Miguel asked. Yes, Daniel said, I am. Can you help my mom? She works really hard. She's always tired. I want to help, if she'll let me. Miguel nodded. Then he followed his siblings, back to his room, leaving Daniel and Valentina alone. Well, Valentina said, you met them. Satisfied? They hate me. Did you expect anything different? You're a stranger who abandoned their mother, who left us to struggle while you lived in luxury. Why would they welcome you? I don't know what I expected, but I'm not giving up. I'm going to prove I'm serious. How? By throwing money at us? By buying them things? by being here, by showing up, by earning their trust. Good luck with that. Lucas hasn't trusted anyone since he was old enough to understand his father abandoned him. Maria is angry at the world. Miguel doesn't even know you're supposed to be his sister's and brother's father. Then I'll start there, with Miguel. Work my way up. And when you fail, when they reject you, when you realize being a father is harder than signing checks, what then? Then I'll keep trying, until they believe me, or until they tell me to leave for good. Valentina shook her head. You're going to break their hearts, just like you broke mine, and I'll have to pick up the pieces, again. I won't let that happen. You already did, 16 years ago. You don't get to promise not to now. She walked to the door, opened it. A clear signal. Leave. You've seen them. You've said your piece. Now leave. Let us get back to our lives. Daniel stood. I'll be back. Tomorrow. And the day after. Until they agree to talk to me. You're wasting your time. It's my time to waste. He left, walked to his car, sat inside, looked at the house, at the small windows, at the life he had missed, at the family he had destroyed. And he knew. This was going to be the hardest thing he had ever done. Harder than building his business. Harder than making his fortune. Harder than anything. But he had to try. Had to face what he had done. Had to be accountable. Had to be the father he should have been 16 years ago. Starting now. Starting today. Even if they never forgave him. Even if they never accepted him. He had to try. 13 years earlier, Lucas Ortega Luna was 3 years old, and he was asking questions his mother couldn't answer. Where's my daddy? Why doesn't he live with us? Does he love me? Valentina held her son, 3 years old, already feeling the absence, already knowing something was missing even if he couldn't articulate what. Your daddy is working far away, Valentina said. The lie tasted bitter. He's building something important. He can't be here right now. When will he come back? I don't know, baby. Someday. Does he know about me? Does he know I'm here? Yes, he knows. Another lie. Because Daniel didn't know, hadn't checked, hadn't cared enough to find out if the baby had been born, if it was a boy or girl, if mother and child were okay. He had disappeared completely. Into his new life, his successful life, his important life. And Valentina was left with this beautiful, curious, smart little boy who deserved a father, who deserved answers, who deserved more than a mother working herself to death and a father who didn't exist. Lucas was a good kid, even at 3, quiet, observant, seemed to understand things he shouldn't, like he could sense his mother's pain, her struggle, her exhaustion. He didn't ask for much, didn't complain, helped with his baby sister even though he was barely more than a baby himself, picked up his toys, tried to be good, like being good would make things easier for his mother. It broke Valentina's heart, that her 3-year-old felt responsible, felt like he needed to help. Felt like he couldn't be a kid because his mother was drowning. She did her best, worked her 2 jobs, came home exhausted, played with her children, read them stories, made sure they knew they were loved even if they didn't have much else. But it wasn't enough, was never enough. Lucas needed a father. Maria would need one too as she grew. And there was no father, just the ghost of one, the memory of a man who had made promises and disappeared. Sometimes, late at night when the children were asleep, Valentina would look up Daniel online, would see articles about his company, his developments, his success, would see photos of him at fancy events, wearing expensive suits, looking happy, looking successful, looking like someone who had never abandoned a pregnant woman and a child. She hated him, wanted to expose him, to tell the world what kind of man he really was, what kind of father, but she didn't. Because what was the point? He was far away, in a different world, and dragging him down wouldn't lift her up, wouldn't help her children, would just create more mess. So she stayed silent, worked, struggled, survived, and told Lucas lies about a father who was coming back someday, even though she knew he never would. Present day, day 3. Daniel showed up the next morning at 9, knocked on the door. Valentina answered, looked unsurprised to see him. "I told you we don't want your help," she said, "and I told you I'm not giving up. I brought groceries, and I'd like to take the kids out. For breakfast, maybe, if they'll come. They're not here. Lucas is at work. Maria and Miguel are at school." "On Sunday?" "Lucas works weekends, and Maria has extra tutoring. Free program at the school. Miguel went to a friend's house." "You're alone?" "For a few hours." "Yes." "Can we talk? Really talk?" Valentina hesitated, then stepped aside. "Fine. But I'm busy. I have laundry, cleaning, things that don't stop just because you showed up." Daniel followed her inside, helped carry in the groceries, expensive stuff, fresh vegetables, good meat, things Valentina clearly couldn't usually afford based on how she looked at the bags. "You didn't have to do this," she said. "I know, but I wanted to." She started putting things away. Daniel stood awkwardly, not sure what to do, where to fit in this small kitchen. "Tell me about them," he said. "About Lucas, Maria, Miguel, I want to know." Valentina was quiet for a moment. Then she started talking, while she worked, while she put away groceries and moved around the kitchen. "Lucas is 16. Smart. Too smart sometimes. He's been the man of the house since he was old enough to understand there was no man. He works at the grocery store, 30 hours a week, gives me every penny to help with bills. He wants to go to college, has dreams, but we can't afford it. Probably never will." She paused. "He's angry at the world, at you, at the situation. Doesn't show it much, keeps it inside, but I see it. The resentment, the feeling that he got cheated, that he deserves better. He does deserve better. Yes, he does. But life isn't about what we deserve. It's about what we get. And he got you as a father, which means he got nothing." The words stung, but Daniel accepted them. "And Maria?" 14. Beautiful. Brilliant. She's top of her class. Could probably get scholarships if we can figure out how to apply, but I don't know how. Don't know where to start. Don't have time to learn. She's angry too, different than Lucas. His anger is quiet, hers is loud. She fights with me, with her brothers, with everyone, because fighting feels better than accepting that this is her life." "And Miguel?" Valentina's face softened. "Miguel he's the light, 10 years old, happy, sweet, doesn't understand yet how hard things are, still believes in possibilities, still thinks the world is good. His father, the other man, left the moment I told him I was pregnant, never saw him again, couldn't even track him down for child support. Just gone, like you were gone. I'm sorry. Stop saying that. Sorry doesn't feed my children, doesn't pay rent, doesn't give them back the years they lost. I know, but I don't know what else to say." Valentina finished with the groceries, leaned against the counter, looked at Daniel, really looked at him. "You want to help? Really help?" "Yes. Anything. Lucas needs tutoring for the SATs, to have a chance at college, but tutors cost money. Money we don't have. I'll pay for it. The best tutor, whatever he needs. Maria needs glasses. Her eyes have been bad for 2 years, but glasses are expensive, so she squints, gets headaches, struggles in school. I'll take her to the eye doctor, get her the best glasses, tomorrow if she'll come. Miguel needs to be a kid, needs to not worry about whether there's food, whether the lights are going to be shut off, whether his mother is going to break from the stress. I can help with all of that. I can pay bills, cover expenses, make sure there's always food, always electricity, always what you need. And when you leave, when you go back to your real life, what then? We just go back to struggling, to barely surviving? I won't leave. I'll set up an account. Transfer money regularly. Make sure you're covered. Charity! You want to make us your charity case? No, I want to support my children, the children I should have been supporting all along. Valentina pushed off the counter. You think money fixes this? You think paying bills makes you a father? No, I know it doesn't, but it's a start. It's what I can do right now. What they need is a father who's here, who knows them, who shows up to school events and helps with homework and is there when they're sick. Can you do that? Can you be that? I don't know, but I want to try. From where? From the capital? From your fancy office and your luxury apartment? You're going to father them by phone? I'll move here. Temporarily. Get an apartment. Be close. Available. Valentina laughed. No humor in it. You move here, to this neighborhood, with the poor people, the people you spent your whole life trying to escape. I don't believe you. I'm serious. For how long? A week, a month, until it gets uncomfortable, until you remember why you left in the first place. For as long as it takes, for them to know me, to maybe forgive me, for me to earn their trust. You can't earn what you destroyed, Daniel. You can't show up 16 years late and expect them to welcome you. It doesn't work that way. Then I'll accept that. But I have to try. The front door opened. Lucas walked in, saw Daniel. His face hardened. What's he doing here? Lucas demanded. We were talking, Valentina said, about you, about your siblings, about what you need. We don't need anything from him. Lucas, no, Mama. I mean it. We've been fine without him. We'll stay fine without him. Daniel looked at his son, this tall, angry teenager who looked so much like Daniel did at that age, who had Daniel's stubbornness, Daniel's pride. I know you're angry, Daniel said. You have every right to be. But I'm here now. And I want to help. Help with what? Easing your guilt, making yourself feel better about abandoning us? Helping you go to college, helping your mother, helping your family have what you need. We don't need your money. Maybe not. But you need opportunities, chances, ways out of this poverty that I created by leaving. Lucas stepped closer, got in Daniel's face. You want to help? Then leave. Go back to your life. Forget we exist, like you've been doing for 16 years. Lucas, Valentina warned, don't. Why not? Why can't I say what we're all thinking? He left you pregnant, abandoned you, let you struggle for 16 years, and now he shows up with money and expects us to what? Forgive him? Thank him? Fall at his feet? I don't expect anything, Daniel said quietly, except the chance to try, to prove I'm serious, to show you I want to be better than I was. You want to be better? Then where were you when Mama was working 2 jobs? Where were you when we didn't have food? Where were you when the lights got shut off and we sat in the dark? Where were you for any of it? Daniel had no answer, because Lucas was right. He hadn't been there, hadn't even known. But that was his fault, his choice, his failure. I can't change the past, Daniel said. I can only try to do better now. It's too late for better. It's too late for anything. Lucas walked past Daniel, went to his room, slammed the door. Valentina sighed. I told you he's angry. He should be. I deserve his anger. You deserve more than anger. You deserve to feel everything we felt, every struggle, every fear. Every night I cried wondering how I was going to keep going. But you won't feel it, because you can't. You were off building your empire while we were barely surviving. I know, and I have no excuse, no justification. I was selfish, cowardly. I chose myself over you, over them, over everything that mattered. And now I choose them, however I can, for however long they'll let me. Valentina looked at this man, this stranger who used to be the love of her life, who had broken her heart and destroyed her future, who now stood in her kitchen offering money and promises. I don't trust you, she said. I don't trust that you'll stay. Don't trust that you won't run again when things get hard. Then don't trust me. But let me prove myself anyway. For how long? as long as it takes. 12 years earlier, Maria Ortega Luna was 2 years old and she was sick, burning up with fever, coughing, struggling to breathe. Valentina held her daughter in the emergency room. Had been waiting for 3 hours. The ER was full, chaotic. They would get to Maria eventually, but not now, not yet. Lucas sat next to them, 4 years old, scared, watching his baby sister struggle, watching his mother try to hold it together. "Is she going to be okay?" Lucas asked. "Yes, baby. The doctors will help her. She'll be fine." Another lie. Because Valentina didn't know if Maria would be fine. Didn't know how bad the fever was. Didn't know what was wrong. Just knew her baby was sick and she couldn't afford the medicine and was hoping the hospital would help. Finally, they were seen. A tired doctor, overworked, moving too fast. Diagnosed pneumonia, wrote prescriptions, gave instructions. "She needs these antibiotics. And this, for the fever. Start them right away. Bring her back if she gets worse." Valentina took the prescriptions, went to the pharmacy, stood in line. When it was her turn, she handed them over. The pharmacist rang them up. "That'll be $240. Valentina's heart sank. "How much?" $240. "The antibiotics are expensive." I don't have that much. Can I just get the fever medicine?" "The antibiotics are what she needs for the pneumonia. The fever medicine is just treating symptoms." "I understand, but I don't have $200. I have 40. Can I get a smaller amount? Enough for a few days?" The pharmacist looked sympathetic but shook her head. "They don't come in smaller amounts. It's the full course or nothing." Valentina felt tears coming. She had $40. That was it. Everything she had until her next paycheck in 4 days. She could choose. Antibiotics now and no food for 4 days. Or food and hope Maria got better on her own. "I'll take them," she said, because she had no choice, because Maria was sick, because being hungry was better than watching your child suffer. She paid, took the medicine, went home, started Maria on the antibiotics, fed both children the last of the food in the house, watched them eat while her stomach cramped with hunger. For 4 days, Valentina didn't eat. Told the kids she wasn't hungry. Told them mommy already ate. Gave them everything and took nothing. By the time her paycheck came, she had lost 8 pounds. Was weak, dizzy, barely functioning. But Maria was better. The fever was gone. The cough was easing. The antibiotics had worked. And that was all that mattered. Valentina bought food, fed her children, fed herself, started the cycle over. Work, bills, food, sacrifice, repeat. And somewhere far away, Daniel made his first million, celebrated, bought champagne, toasted his success. Never knowing that the mother of his children was starving herself to keep them alive, never caring. Present day. 1 week later, Daniel had kept his word, had rented an apartment in the neighborhood, nothing fancy, a simple 2-bedroom, furnished minimally, close to Valentina's house. He showed up every day, morning, evening, whenever he could, brought food, offered help, tried to talk to the children. Lucas refused to speak to him, would leave the room whenever Daniel arrived. Made it clear he wanted nothing to do with his father. Maria was slightly more receptive, would at least acknowledge Daniel's presence, had accepted new glasses when Daniel offered. Her grades had improved immediately. She was grateful for that at least, even if she wouldn't say it. Miguel was the easiest. Talked to Daniel, asked questions, seemed fascinated by this man who had so much money, who drove a nice car, who knew about the world beyond their neighborhood. "Why did you leave?" Miguel asked one day, direct, innocent, just curious. "Because I was scared," Daniel answered honestly. "Because I thought I needed to be rich to be happy, to be someone, and I was wrong." "Are you happy now? Now that you're rich?" "No, I'm not. I have money, success, but I'm alone. I don't have what really matters. I don't have family." "We're your family," Miguel said. Matter of fact. like it was simple. Your brothers don't think so. Your mother doesn't think so. But you're here now, trying. That counts for something. Daniel's throat tightened. This kid, this sweet, innocent kid who wasn't even his biological son, but was willing to give him a chance. Thank you, Daniel said, for giving me a chance. You're welcome. One evening, Daniel found Valentina in the backyard. She was hanging laundry, the old-fashioned way, on a line, because the dryer was broken and she couldn't afford to fix it. Daniel came outside. Can I help? You don't know how to hang laundry, so teach me. She looked at him, then handed him wet clothes, showed him how to clip them. They worked in silence for a while. I set up the account, Daniel said. 5,000 a month, transferred automatically for bills, for food, for whatever you need. That's too much. It's not enough. It's what I should have been sending for 16 years. I can't take that much. It's charity. It's child support. 16 years late. But child support. Valentina was quiet. What about Lucas, his college? I set up an education fund, enough for 4 years at any university, tuition, room and board, books, everything. He'll never accept it. He's too proud. He doesn't have to accept it from me. You can tell him it's a scholarship, a grant, whatever makes him comfortable. But he's going to college. That's non-negotiable. You can't force him. I can make it possible. What he does with the possibility is up to him. They finished hanging the laundry. The sun was setting, orange light flooding the small backyard. Why are you really doing this? Valentina asked. Why now, after all this time? Because I saw you, saw them, saw what my choices cost. And I couldn't walk away again, couldn't pretend it didn't matter. You pretended for 16 years. I know, and I can't take that back. Can't undo the damage, but I can try to do better, starting now. And when the guilt fades, when you get bored, when your real life calls you back, this is my real life. This is what matters, not the developments, not the money. This, you, them. I don't believe you. You don't have to. I'll prove it, however long it takes. Valentina turned to face him. You broke my heart, destroyed my life, abandoned my children, and you think money and showing up fixes that? No, I know it doesn't. But it's all I have to offer. Money and presents and trying to be better. It's not enough. I know, but it's a start. She looked at him, and for the first time, he saw something other than anger. Maybe sadness, maybe regret, maybe just exhaustion from carrying everything alone for so long. I loved you, she said quietly. When we were young, I loved you so much. I would have done anything for you. I loved you too. No, you didn't. You loved your dreams more. You loved your ambition. You loved the idea of who you could become more than you loved the reality of who I was. You're right, and I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. It's too late for sorry. What's done is done. She went inside, left Daniel standing in the backyard, alone with the hanging laundry and the setting sun and the weight of everything he had destroyed. Present day. 3 weeks later, Lucas was working the evening shift at the grocery store, stocking shelves, bagging groceries, doing the minimum wage work that helped keep his family afloat. Daniel showed up, not as a customer, just stood outside, waiting. When Lucas's shift ended at 10, he came out, saw Daniel, his face hardened. What are you doing here? I want to talk. Just you and me, no pressure, no expectations, just talk. I have nothing to say to you. Then listen, give me 10 minutes. If you still want me gone after that, I'll leave. I'll stop coming by. I'll stay out of your life. Lucas hesitated, then nodded. 10 minutes. They walked through the neighborhood. The streets quiet this late. Just the two of them and the street lights, and the truth between them. I know you hate me, Daniel said. I know you have every right to. I abandoned you before you were born. I let your mother struggle. I chose myself over you, over her, over everything. Yeah, you did. I can't change that, can't undo it, can't make it right, but I can tell you why. Not as an excuse, just as an explanation. I don't care why. Maybe not. But I'm going to tell you anyway. I was 25, poor, terrified of being stuck in poverty forever. Your mother got pregnant and I panicked. Saw my whole life disappearing, saw myself trapped. So I ran, like a coward. And you think that makes it better, that you were scared? Everyone's scared. Not everyone abandons their kid. You're right. Being scared isn't an excuse. But it's the truth. I was weak, selfish. I chose my dreams over my responsibilities. And now that you're rich, now that you got everything you wanted, now you care, now I realize I didn't get everything I wanted. I got money, success, but I lost you. I lost the chance to be your father, to know you, to be part of your life, and that's the biggest failure of my life. Lucas stopped walking, turned to face Daniel. You don't get to do that. You don't get to show up and make this about you, about what you lost. This isn't about you. It's about us. About what we lost. What Mama lost. What I lost growing up without a father. I know. Do you? Do you know what it was like watching Mama work herself to death? Watching her cry because we didn't have food? Watching her choose between rent and electricity? Do you know what it's like to be the man of the house at 8 years old? To feel responsible for your siblings because there's no one else? No, I don't. And I never will. Because I wasn't there. Because I chose not to be there. So why are you here now? Guilt? Trying to fix your legacy? Trying to feel better about yourself? Maybe all of those things. But also because you deserve better. Maria deserves better. Your mother deserves better. And even if you never forgive me, even if you never accept me as your father, I can at least try to give you the opportunities you should have had all along. Lucas's eyes were wet. Angry tears. I don't want your money. I don't want your opportunities. I want my childhood back. I want a father who was there, who cared, who didn't abandon us. I can't give you that. No amount of money can give you that. But I can give you a future, college, career opportunities, a way out of this cycle of poverty. Will you take it? Not for me, for yourself. Lucas wiped his eyes. Why do you care, really? Why does it matter to you if I go to college? Because you're my son, and you're brilliant. And you deserve every chance to become whoever you want to be, not who poverty forces you to be. I'm not your son. You gave up that right 16 years ago. Biologically, I'm your father, whether you claim me or not, and that means I have a responsibility, one I should have been fulfilling all along. Let me fulfill it now, please. Lucas looked at this man, this stranger who shared his DNA but nothing else. Who had money and success, and everything Lucas didn't, who was offering help but couldn't offer what really mattered. I'll take the education fund, Lucas said finally. Not for you, for me, for my future. But don't think that makes you my father. Don't think that makes us family. I don't. I just hope that someday maybe you'll give me a chance to earn that title, to prove I can be better than I was. Don't hold your breath. Lucas walked away. Left Daniel standing on the street corner, alone, but with something, not forgiveness, not acceptance, but not complete rejection either. It was a start, maybe. Present day. 2 months later, Daniel had been in town for 2 months, had missed meetings, had delegated projects, had put his business on hold to be here, to try to build something with these children who barely acknowledged him. His relationship with Miranda was over. She had called once, angry, demanded to know what he was doing, who was more important than her. Daniel had told her the truth, that he had children, that he was trying to be a father, that his priorities had changed. She had hung up on him, sent him a text the next day saying it was over. He hadn't responded, hadn't cared, because she was right. His priorities had changed, and she didn't fit into them anymore. Maria had started talking to him, slightly, would answer questions, would accept rides to school, would even occasionally ask for help with homework. It wasn't much, but it was something. Miguel had become his little shadow, followed him around, asked endless questions. Wanted to know everything about Daniel's life, his business, his world. Daniel answered every question honestly, even the hard ones. Lucas still refused most contact, would accept the education benefits but wouldn't talk, wouldn't engage, kept his distance. And Valentina was a mystery. Some days she seemed to soften, to maybe, possibly, begin to forgive. Other days she was cold, distant, reminded him of everything he had done, everything he had cost her. One evening, Daniel was at their house, helping Miguel with a school project. Maria was doing homework nearby. Lucas was at work. Valentina was making dinner. The front door burst open. Lucas ran in, blood streaming from his nose, his shirt torn, his face bruised. "Lucas!" Valentina dropped what she was doing, ran to him. "What happened?" "Fight. At the store. Some guys tried to rob the register. I tried to stop them. He swayed, sat down hard on the couch. Daniel was already moving. Grabbed paper towels, ice, helped Valentina clean Lucas up. "We need to call the police," Daniel said. "File a report." "No," Lucas said. "No police. They assaulted you. Tried to rob the store. I said no police. They know where I live, where my family lives. I'm not putting Mama and my siblings at risk." "Lucas," Valentina started. "No, Mama, I mean it. We don't involve police. We handle this ourselves." Daniel looked at this boy, his son, bleeding, bruised, protecting his family the only way he knew how, and he saw himself, or who he could have been, who he should have been. "You're not working there anymore," Daniel said. "I need the job. We need the money." "You don't. I'm covering expenses. You don't need to work. I'm not taking your charity. It's not charity. It's what a father does. He provides, he protects, and I'm providing, so you don't have to work in a dangerous place for minimum wage. You're not my father. Maybe not. But I'm trying to be. And part of that is making sure you're safe, making sure you can focus on school, making sure you don't have to risk your life for $12 an hour." Lucas looked at Daniel, then at his mother. She nodded. "He's right, Miko. You should quit. Focus on your studies, on getting into college. What about money? What about helping? I have enough now. He's been helping. We're okay. You don't need to carry this burden anymore." Lucas looked down at his bloody hands, at the evidence of what his life had become, working dangerous jobs, trying to be the man of the house, carrying weight no 16-year-old should carry. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'll quit, but I'm getting another job, something safer. I need to contribute, need to feel like I'm helping." "Fine," Daniel said. "I'll help you find something. Something safe. Something that works around your school schedule. Deal?" Lucas looked at Daniel, really looked at him, and for the first time there was something other than anger, maybe respect, maybe grudging acceptance, maybe just exhaustion from fighting. "Deal," Lucas said. It wasn't much, but it was more than Daniel had had before, more than he deserved. But he would take it, would build on it, would keep trying. Present day, 4 months later. It was December. The weather had turned cold. Christmas was approaching, a time for family, for celebration, for togetherness. Daniel had been in town for 4 months, had barely gone back to the capital, had delegated most of his business, had focused on being here, being present, being what his children needed. Lucas was applying to colleges, good schools, schools he never could have considered before. The education fund made it possible. He was applying to engineering programs, had dreams of building, creating, like his father, though he would never admit that similarity. Maria was thriving in school. Top of her class. With her new glasses, she could see, could read, could excel. Teachers were talking about gifted programs, about advanced placement, about college scholarships. Miguel was just being Miguel, happy, sweet. The bridge between Danielle and the family, the one who welcomed him without reservation, and Valentina. Valentina was changing, slowly. The exhaustion was easing. The constant worry about money was gone. She had quit one of her jobs, was home more, was able to breathe. On Christmas Eve, Daniel showed up at the house with gifts. Not expensive things, just thoughtful ones. A new coat for Lucas, books for Maria, a bicycle for Miguel, a warm blanket for Valentina. "You didn't have to do this," Valentina said. "I wanted to. It's Christmas." The children opened their gifts. Even Lucas seemed pleased, touched, though he tried to hide it. They had dinner together, all 5 of them, around the small table, eating food Daniel had brought, turkey, sides, dessert. A real Christmas dinner. It was awkward, strange, but also nice, family-like almost. After dinner, Miguel asked Daniel to stay for a movie. Daniel looked at Valentina. She nodded. "You can stay." They watched a Christmas movie. Something light, funny. Miguel fell asleep on the couch. Maria went to her room early. Lucas stayed, watched the movie. Didn't talk, but didn't leave either. When it ended, Lucas stood up, looked at Daniel. "Thank you for the coat and the college fund and everything. You're welcome. I still don't forgive you. I still don't think you're my dad, but you're trying. I see that, and I appreciate it." It was the most Lucas had said to him in 4 months. Daniel's throat was tight. "Thank you for giving me a chance." Lucas nodded, went to his room, leaving Daniel and Valentina alone in the living room. Miguel asleep on the couch between them. "He's softening," Valentina said. "Maybe. A little. You've been here 4 months. Kept your word. Showed up every day. That matters. I should have shown up 16 years ago. Yes, you should have, but you didn't, and we can't change that. We can only move forward." Daniel looked at her, at this woman he had loved, had abandoned, had destroyed. "Can you ever forgive me?" Valentina was quiet for a long time. "I don't know. Some days I think maybe. Other days I remember everything and the anger comes back. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive you. I understand. But I do appreciate what you're doing, for the kids, for me. It doesn't erase the past, but it helps the present. And that's something. It's not enough. No, it's not. But it's what we have. And we make do with what we have. That's what I've learned. From 16 years of struggling, you make do with what you have." Daniel stood up. "I should go. Let you get some rest." "Daniel?" "Yes?" "Don't disappear again. The kids are getting used to you, depending on you. If you leave now, it will break them, especially Miguel. Don't do that to them." "I won't, I promise. I'm here, for as long as they'll let me be." "Good." Daniel left. Drove back to his apartment. Small, simple. Nothing like his penthouse in the capital, but it felt more like home than anywhere he had lived in 16 years, because it was close to them, to his children, to the family he had abandoned but was trying to reclaim. He had a long way to go, years maybe, before they truly accepted him, before Valentina forgave him, before he earned the title of father instead of just the biological fact of it. But he was trying, every day, showing up, being present, proving he meant it, and maybe someday it would be enough. Maybe someday they would look at him and see a father instead of the man who abandoned them. Maybe it was all he could hope for, all he could work toward, all he had. Let me tell you something about the children we abandon. Daniel spent 16 years chasing success, building wealth, becoming someone important. He got everything he thought he wanted. Money, status, recognition. And while he was doing that, 3 children grew up without him, struggling, hungry, wearing clothes that didn't fit, living in poverty while their father lived in luxury. He didn't know about them, didn't check, didn't care enough to find out if the woman he left pregnant had given birth, if the child was okay, if they needed anything. He just ran and built and succeeded and told himself it was worth it until he saw them, saw what his choices had cost, saw the life Valentina was forced to live, saw the children who deserved better, saw the consequences of his selfishness. And then he tried to fix it, showed up with money and promises, tried to buy his way into their lives, tried to make 16 years of absence disappear with presence and support. But here's the truth. You can't buy back what you abandon. You can't replace years of absence with months of presence. You can't erase the damage with money and guilt. You can only try. Show up every day. Prove you mean it. Earn trust that was destroyed. Build relationships that should have existed from the beginning. And hope. Hope that someday, maybe, the children you abandoned will give you a chance, will let you be the father you should have been all along. Now let me ask you something. Who have you abandoned in your pursuit of success? What children, literal or figurative, have you left behind? What family did you sacrifice to chase your dreams? And what would you do if you drove past their house today and saw what your absence had cost them? Would you stop? Would you face it? Would you try to make it right? Or would you keep driving? Keep building your empire. Keep pretending that success matters more than the people you hurt. Tell me in the comments. Who did you leave behind? Who's waiting for you to come back? Who deserves better than your absence? And if this story made you uncomfortable, if you saw yourself in Daniel, good. That means you still have time. You can still go back. You can still show up. Before 16 years pass, before your children grow up without you, before the woman who loved you breaks under the weight you left her to carry. Hit that like button if you felt something. Share this with someone who's so busy being successful they're forgetting who they're supposed to be successful for. Subscribe if you want more stories like this, real stories about real consequences, about the children we abandon, about the families we destroy, about whether we can ever make it right. Every week there's a new story about choices and consequences, about what matters and what doesn't, about the price we pay for the lives we choose. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And if you're Daniel, if you're the person who ran away and built a fortune while your family struggled, it's not too late. Not if you're willing to face what you did, to show up, to try, not for redemption, not for forgiveness, but because it's the right thing to do, because those children deserve a father, even one who shows up 16 years late. That's everything. See you next week.